and welcome to This Is The Day. We are live on Family TV, also live on Family Radio. My name is Sarah Otieno, and thank you so much for choosing to spend time with me this beautiful evening. You can use the WhatsApp number 0786316316 and talk to us. SMS line 20316 on Facebook and Twitter at Family Radio 316. Well, today we look at some of the stories that are making headline, and we will also be looking at some of the views of the BBI report that was recently released to the public and also to the president and the opposition leader Raila Odinga at the Bomas of Kenya. Well, that and much more is coming up in a couple of minutes, but for now, let's get it started. The Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha says there is no plan to close schools following the increasing infections of COVID-19. Kenya has recorded a surge in the COVID-19 infection and deaths since the last month, with an average of 10 deaths daily, raising fears of a possible second wave that has forced European countries to impose new tough restrictions. President Uhuru Kenyatta has already summoned a key summit next week to weigh on the available options, with the State House saying that he is equally concerned of the rising numbers at a time when the country was gearing to a full economic resumption. Schools were reopened early this month for final years to enable candidates sit for their national examination, but the increase in infection has left parents worried.
As far as the spiking of COVID is concerned, yes, it is spiking. It's not only spiking in this country. And what we are grappling with is, do we open for the other children or not? In terms of the examination timetable, there are no changes because, like I said, we are not planning for now to shut down because of the COVID.
Well, that is what is happening in the education sector. And according to reports, about 35 schools have recorded cases of COVID-19. And still speaking of that, the health CS Mutahi Kagwe has confirmed that Kenya is experiencing a second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is after the country recorded 761 new cases today, and that brings the country's total load to 52,612. And Kagwe said that this is from a sample of 4,830 that were tested in the last 24 hours. And he was speaking during the daily COVID-19 briefing from Mombasa. And Mr. Kagwe said that Kenyans should expect new directives going forward. Another 14 patients have succumbed to the disease, bringing the total number of fatalities to 964. And he also announced that anyone found not wearing a mask in public will be fined. The CS announced that the Ministry of Health had resolved to have the home-based care program as a primary mode for the COVID-19 patients.
Some 761 people have tested positive for the virus today, from a sample size of 4,830 tested in the last 24 hours. We now therefore have 52,612 confirmed cases in the country. And we have tested some 678,000 people in the country. So we know that we have a second wave of this disease. And the balance between keeping our economy running and keeping people safe is one that is obviously creating its own challenges. And I want to just state that there are fundamental changes, whether in case management or in our behavior, that we might have to require our people to make. Following the meeting with the governors tomorrow, and the summit, and the governor's summit with the president on Wednesday next week, we will be able to give direction to the country. But there is one thing that I would like to state as a philosophy and a policy, that going forward, the advice we have got from case management teams in the Ministry of Health is that the key fundamental management center is going to be home-based care. let me make this clear, that individuals who do not have the symptoms of are not symptomatic should no longer be necessarily locked in hospitals. Families, with the support of community health workers, must begin to learn how to manage positive people who are not sick.
Well, there we have it from the CS of the Ministry of Health. And just today, we have crossed the 52,000 mark of the cases of COVID-19 and recording 14 deaths just in the last 24 hours and an average of 10 deaths a day in the last 1 week. That is a high number. Well, that is where we're getting our discussion from today, and also the question that we are asking. With the President expected to have a sit down with the key stakeholders in the Ministry of Health to actually find a way forward for our country, do you think that it is time we go for a shutdown? And I am talking about the churches, our schools, social gatherings. Do you think it's advisable for the President to actually order a shutdown when it comes to these operations, our schools, churches, and even the social gatherings? Talk to us through the WhatsApp number 0786 316 316, SMS line 20316. On Facebook and Twitter, you can find us at Family Radio 316. Remember to put the hashtag This Is The Day. Well, as the numbers of COVID-19 cases continue to rise, the matatu operators still want the government to allow them to carry passengers in full capacity. According to the Matatu Owners Association chairperson Samuel Kimutai, the move by government to allow trains and planes to carry full capacity is discriminatory and unacceptable. They have further raised concerns over the planned lockout of matatus from Nairobi CBD, saying that the move is ill-advised and that the new terminals that were created by the NMS cannot accommodate all the matatus.
Public transport is a facilitator. Public transport is the main wheel that turns the economy. Apparently, it's a private business, and nobody cares whether we're making losses. It seems so, because government has not invested in public transport, and somehow they don't even know what we undergo, and yet they rely on us to move Kenyans. 95% of Kenyans rely on public transport for movements. A minibus, for instance, in Nairobi would have a gross of between 12 and 15,000. This gross now has come to 7. So you can do your mathematics. We have over 20,000 minibuses in Nairobi. That's big time loss. And let me tell you, the owner, the investor, is eating into his capital, because you're unable to apportion. These vehicles do depreciate by 15% per annum. We want to tell them, open up. If you know certain circles and companies are fake, go for their necks.
Well, the matatu industry has given the government and the Ministry of Transport until next Tuesday before they say they will be going to a go-slow, a strike that will affect all the public transport sector across the country. Now, Meru Governor Kiraitu Murungi has protested the recent findings that were posted by the research firm by the name Infotrack, and the governor claimed that the firm fabricated poll results that saw him ranked among the lowest in the country, performing governors at the position of 37 out of 47. Kiraitu urged the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to carry out investigations into the report, and he added that the same Infotrack firm had an earlier on poll that indicated that he didn't have any slot of becoming a governor. Now, Murungi's allegations come a day after Infotrack released a performance ranking poll for all the governors.
Let them look at the private sector. Let them look at Infotrack. I'm ready to go there and give evidence that they were asking for 3 million so that they can give us a better number. I will never give a single cent to them. Let me number 47 out of 47. They said, I'm not going to be governor of Meru. Let them be told Kiraitu Murungi is the governor of Meru. Setani.
Wanasema si tuko namba 37, 38 out of 47. Sijui hiyo maoni walichukua wapi, si kuwaona Igoji East, na zaidi ya hiyo wakuje wachukue maoni kwa mwananchi wa kawaida. Lakini mambo ya kununua chai na maandazi ndio muandike stori zenu kwa magazeti, ndio mseme vile Meru kazi hakuna kazi inaendelea Meru. Sisi sio wajinga na tunajua ukweli wa mambo. Hiyo mnaandika huko sio ile mwananchi atapigia kula. Sisi tunajua gavana wetu, mtu yule ametoka Igoji East Ward siku ya leo. Anajua kazi ya miaka 5 wakati ule mwingine na kazi ya miaka 3. Hata akiambiwa angalie zote mbili, atatoa maoni mazuri kuliko ile imeandikwa, na sisi tunajua ukweli wa mambo.
Well, that is what is happening in Meru County. Remi Kipchirchir, you're saying on the headlines, my take on the prevention of COVID-19 pandemic at the moment. Kenyans need to take this second wave seriously, as we can see the infections are going up. If we don't stick to wearing of masks, washing our hands and maintaining social distancing, we are heading to the wrong path. Thank you for that, Lynette from Nairobi. And you're saying the shutdown will have a deeper effect on the economy. Evidently, he may change the curfew hours and let there be stiffer fines on not putting on your masks well. And she highlighted the name well. Putting on your masks well. I like that. Thank you so much, Smiley Face, for tuning in today. Well, contribute to the discussion that we are having today. Now, with the increasing numbers of COVID-19, do you think we should be going back to a shutdown? And we are talking about our churches, the schools, and even the issue of social gatherings. Do you think we should go back to a shutdown? On the topic of discussion today, Martin Dungu, you're saying shutting down won't help. It's now everyone's on his own. Second wave is already with us. Evidence everywhere. Disease is killing more than the disease is killing more serious than the first wave. The cessation of movement and the schools reopening made us fools of believing the curve was flattened without knowing that it was right there outside waiting for us. God only knows. And you go ahead to say, have walked from Gilgil town to Nyahururu via all. What? Okay, what do you mean? You're saying you're from Gilgil town to Nyahururu via Olkalau, and people are reckless with no masks, no water in most of the shops for hand washing. Vehicles faring the route carry excess, especially these small vehicles, and the traffic officers are doing nothing about it. This is very serious and actually shows how people are reluctant when it comes to observing the rules of COVID-19. Joseph from Mombasa, thank you so much for tuning in today. Remi Kipchirchir, asante. I will get back to you and read your comment in a couple of minutes. Duncan from Dago, asante sana for tuning in. You're saying, I am enjoying the music. This is Robert, Scott Robert, and you're saying, hi, Sarah. That is a tough decision to make. You saw what happened when they locked down some countries for more than few months. The economy really suffered. I think people should just take care of themselves and follow the government's protocol. Finally, we should not go to a second lockdown. I really suffered during the first lockdown. Please, churches, what keeps us close? Please, the churches are what keeps us close to God. This is Robert Scott Fons. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Do not be left out. Also send in your responses. Now, the Jubilee Party Vice Chairperson David Murathe has questioned the Deputy President William Ruto's frequent tours, the latest one being to the large Mount Kenya region. Now, Murathe, who does not see eye to eye with the DP, said Ruto's latest tour is questionable, while accepting that the DP has the freedom to visit any part of the country. Murathe said that Mr. Ruto seems to have a hidden agenda for the central and urged residents to be very careful.
Now, the only issue that people are raising, number one, is it only Mount Kenya that needs Harambes, for example? Is it only Mount Kenya youth that need empowerment? Is it only Mount Kenya women who need? When did you last hear the Deputy President going to Eldoret or to Nandi or to the Rift Valley to empower women or to deal with border borders in his backyard? Why is it so important? We feel that the Deputy President is on a radicalization mission in Mount Kenya. And we are cautioning our people. He's free to come. In fact, we have decided, let him tour, let him be received. He will come, he will go. We don't think it will have any impact. But he must be careful not to radicalize our young people. We used to have Mongeki in Central Region. A lot of our young people died. Now, when you bring this narrative of the haves and the have-nots, that was the Mongeki philosophy. That is what they are engineering, and that is what they are reincarnating, because it is very appealing to the young people, the touts, the people who feel that they are poor because you're rich. And then you have the rich versus the poor, you have the hustlers versus the dynasties, and you radicalize these young people. It is a recipe for chaos, it is a recipe for violence, and it is a recipe for disaster. And this is what the concerns are, that surely whatever we are seeing him doing in Mount Kenya region, he should be showing us, he should be doing it in Rift Valley, and we see it.
Well, and talking of the Deputy President, today he was in Kajiado County, where he urged all the leaders to be open to a review of the BBI report.
Mimi nawaomba viongozi wote, katiba sio yetu peke yetu kama viongozi. Katiba sio lazima maoni ya kiongozi iwe ndio maoni ya maana. Maoni ya kila mtu ni ya muhimu. Kwa hivyo tuwache fujo mingi na kiburi mingi na vishindo. Tukubaliane ya kwamba katiba ni yetu sisi wote. Rais alisema kule Bomas, tutafute consensus, tutafute uwiano, tuelewane. Yale mambo yako pale tusiweke ubinafsi. Sio mambo yangu mimi nataka ndio lazima, sio mambo ya ule mwingine ni lazima, sio mambo ya ule mwingine ni lazima. Tunataka mambo ambayo inaguza watu wengi ndio tupitishe. Let us not drive the country into a divisive engagement. The president and all of us have said, let's look for a consensus that will bring the views of the majority together. And I dare say that it is possible for us, if we eliminate selfish interests, it is possible for us to arrive at a consensus so that we can drive this process, unify the country, avoid unnecessary division. Even when we go to a referendum, let us have a non-contested referendum.
Well, there we have it. That is what the Deputy President said. And Martin Dungu is saying, who sent Murathe to speak for the people of Central? Thank you so much for the feedback and for tuning in today. Now, the ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi has called upon Kenyans to take it as a personal responsibility to help in the growth of the economy of our country. Mudavadi said Kenya's economy is facing a stiff competition from the regional neighbors due to lack of proper long-term planning. And the ANC party leader was speaking at his Riverside office when he met the representatives of the Mount Kenya Professional Association.
When an economy is under stress, there is now pressure for a lot of relief. You know, systematically, people are demanding more and more relief. And the government in itself, through KRA, as you said, is busy squeezing businessmen like these ones even more and more and more, because the demands on the government are becoming excessive. All right? So we need to find ways of creating wealth in multiples. So the conversation that we will be looking at, in my view, is that what can we do as Kenyan people to accelerate the creation of wealth and make sure it is properly distributed within the Kenyan people, so that this demand for what would be free things.
Now, in a bid to solve the youth unemployment puzzle, the government spokesperson Sarah Sumbati says that the government is coming up with numerous programs to reduce the youth unemployment cases in our country. Now, he was speaking during a youth empowerment forum in Nyeri, and the spokesperson listed the Youth Enterprise Fund, which he said will facilitate credit and help the youth access job opportunities.
Vijana wengi wana uraibu wa madawa za kulevya. So tukasema ni vizuri kwamba tueleze kwamba haupo peke yako. Serikali ipo inakujali, serikali imeweka miradi za kuweza kukusaidia ili kwamba uweze kujitoa katika ile shimo ya uraibu ya madawa za kulevya. Kwa hivi leo ni kujaribu kuelezea miradi hizi za serikali za kuweza kukufanya wewe kijana mdogo uweze kujisikia kwamba wewe ni mwananchi halisi ambaye serikali inamjali kwa kila njia yote ni ipi. Serikali ina miradi tofauti, wala sio mfuko mmoja kusaidia vijana. Tumeongea kuhusu ajira digital, ina kitengo chake. KOP ina kitengo chake. Uwezo Fund ina kitengo chake. Ujumla ni zaidi ya serikali imetenga zaidi ya bilioni kama 7 hivi kusaidia vijana kwa ujumla. Kwa hivyo vijana lazima wafuate hizi miradi ili kuweza kujibinafsisha. Vijana wengi wanakaa nyumbani kusubiri kwamba serikali ifanye nini? Iende kwao. Kuna baadhi ya vijana wanasema hata nikipata corona nitapona tu. Ndio utapona, lakini mzazi wako je, itakuwa vipi? Kwa hivyo usijipende sana kuliko kumpenda mzazi wako. Kwa hivyo nawahimiza tu kwamba mnapofika nyumbani, mnapotembea mitaani, mnapocheza, mnapo hata mfanya ile tunaita ile mitaje ile betting, tukumbuke corona ipo.
And still speaking about the youth, a group that calls themselves Youth for Kenya, that is from Nairobi, have poured cold water on the BBI report, and the youth claim that the report has not addressed the youth issues substantively to empower the group that is majorly the population of the country. But instead, the creation of Youth Commission is only a plot to hoodwink the youth into supporting the document.
Youth comprised of different youth groups all over the country, and we are here to say that we are not comfortable with the BBI document. We have our reservations, and we would love to start a conversation on recommendation on the same document. Number one, we have our irreducible minimum as the highest population of this country. Number one, you are saying the BBI steering committee is not does not have anyone who is below 35. And now we are saying for the conversation to continue, we must have somebody who is a youth in that steering committee. Number two, we are saying for representation or nomination in the national government, or MPs, we are demanding 47 seats.
Youth is mentioned 53 times in this particular report. That is up from 20 last time. But 12 times in this new report, the word youth appears under references, glossary, and all the other things. Then 6 times it's repeated under that tax thing. So, whereas there has been an increase in the mention of the word youth, it's not substantive and it's not very helpful.
Well, there we have it. The youth actually just brushing off the BBI report. Now, Joseph from Kiserian, thank you so much for tuning in. And you're saying, praise God, Sarah, I am blessed to be tuned in today. If we want to beat coronavirus, our leaders have to play the part first. We have plans for BBI sensitization, yet the people attending those meetings and public gatherings are always flaunting the COVID-19 rules and the regulations. As long as our leaders keep acting as if everything is back to normal, the country should stay as it is. Oh, well, thank you so much for tuning in today. I have, on the question of the day, going back to the shutdown to reduce the infection rate of the COVID-19 pandemic should be the way to go. All right. And he's saying, however, I'm aware of the adverse effects it may have on the business community, the corporate bodies, and also the government, as it will surely slow down the economy instead of making it grow. On education, I don't think whether there is a huge pressure that the CS Magoha has on his shoulders to deliver the examination for the candidates sitting for KCPE and KCSE. There are still other schools that are struggling to have proper infrastructure to have conducive learning. Thus, I believe the government needs to cater and provide for proper quality learning institutions for pupils as they seek to return back to school. So according to Remy, it's actually advisable that we go back to a shutdown for us to control these numbers. All right, asante sana for tuning in today. Send in your responses and what you think about the question of the day. Now, the Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa says devolution is the biggest winner in the BBI following proposals to increase the county's shareable revenue from 15% to 35%. He was speaking in Kitui after officially opening of the Expo 2020, and Mr. Wamalwa said that the proposed funds will spur economic growth and create job opportunities.
Ile 15% tulikuwa tunapewa kwa katiba ile iko. Sasa the proposed BBI proposes that tupate 35%. 35% tukipewa hapa Kitui, sisi tutakuwa sawa.
Watu wa Kitui, muko tayari? Muko tayari? Muko tayari kwa BBI? Muko tayari tulete pesa hapa Ukambani? Muko tayari tupewe Gavana Ngilu pesa zaidi ya ile anapata? Maendeleo yaendelee hapa. Kina mama wapate kazi. Vijana wetu wapate kazi. Muko tayari? Kwa hivyo mimi nasema, seek ye the kingdom of devolution and the rest will follow. Sawa sawa?
All right, now the government has launched an aggressive campaign to stop the indiscriminate killing of elderly men and women in Kilifi County, and the move follows the killing of 11 elderly persons in the county in a span of just 1 month alone. Now, fake religious leaders have been faulted for these killings.
Anakuja anaangalia huyu mama, hapendi macho yake, anasema huyu ni mchawi. Anaangalia huyu mzee, anasema huyu ana ushirikina. Baadaye jioni watu wanaua huyo mama na huyo mzee. Tunataka utuambie hao waombezi, hiyo sayansi yako kama Yesu Kristo hakusema, wewe tuambie ulisomea wapi dini ambayo inakupatia hiyo mamlaka? Family ambazo zitapoteza mzee yao kuhusiana na hii mambo, mjue nyinyi nyote ni suspects. Tutakuja tu kuwachukua nyinyi nyote.
Eleza vijana ya kwamba kumaliza wazee haitatatua shida. Shida itakuwa hata mzee akienda. Kama unataka mali, omba mzee akupatie mali, lakini si kuua.
Uwe mzazi ndio ununue bodaboda, hiyo boda itakuua pia. Manake kile unafanya hapa duniani inalipiwa wapi? Si ni hapa tu. Kwa hivyo tafadhali mkomeshe maneno ya kuua watu.
Kuhakikisha kwamba tusikue na mauaji yeyote katika sehemu hizi.
Well, it's very sad. Imagine that was done to your grandmother or your grandfather. Having 11 elderly persons killed in a span of 1 month, that is a very high number. And it's not only happening in Kilifi and Kwale County, but also in different parts of the country. We need to take care of our elderly persons. Remember, they took care of us when we were young. So it's just time to at least kurudisha mkono. Anyway, the Tanzania's main opposition candidate, Tundu Lissu, today rejected the results of the vote, terming it as a fraud. At a press conference in Dar es Salaam, Lissu, who ran on the Chama cha Demokrasia na Maendeleo ticket, said the figures being announced by the National Electoral Commission cannot be verified. Mr. Lissu said that his party will not accept the vote outcome and called on the masses to take the matters to their own hands by engaging in some peaceful demonstrations.
Watanzania na dunia inafahamu jinsi ambavyo tulifanya kampeni kubwa na ya mafanikio makubwa sana. Mimi pamoja na mgombea mwenza wangu Mheshimiwa Salum Mwalimu tulifanya mikutano ya kampeni mingi kuliko aliyofanya mgombea urais wa CCM, makamu wake pamoja na waziri mkuu combined. tulifanya mikutano katika kila mkoa wa nchi hii. Mahali pekee ambako hatukuweza kwenda ni kule ambako tulizuiliwa kwenda, aidha wakati simamishwa kufanya kampeni kwa sababu za kijingajinga tu, au mahali ambapo tulizuiliwa kwenda kwa sababu ya kukataliwa kutua au kupigwa mabomu na vitu vya aina hiyo.
Well, remember, in TZ, the counting of the votes is still ongoing, and we will be giving you updates on that election process as the outcome is brought out to the light. Now, the UK is only buying a vaccine to protect the people most vulnerable to the COVID-19 and effectively ending any hope for herd immunity in the foreseeable future. Now, every vaccine that is bought in the UK has been on the assumption that just 30 million people, which is less than half of the population, will actually get it.
A COVID vaccine is seen as the great hope, protecting health, securing the economy, a ticket back to normality. But the UK is only buying doses for those who are most vulnerable. That's 30 million people, less than half the population. Jack Summers volunteered for one of the vaccine trials. Despite the emerging risk of long COVID, it's by no means certain the young and healthy would actually be protected.
I think it will be quite a shock, and I think that probably results from the fact the government has told us so often that this is has told us about it in very simple terms, that there will be a vaccine one day and that will solve all our problems in one fell swoop.
The Vaccines Task Force has only bought doses on the assumption they'll be given to people over 50, those with underlying health problems, and to health and care workers. But with so few vaccinated, there's little prospect of herd immunity. The virus will still spread.
All right, even as they wait for the vaccine to come out, the UK government has already contacted companies that are working on the vaccine of COVID-19. Rose Judah, you're saying, let the president close all the bars. Every time bars are open, the numbers go up. Thank you so much for tuning into the show today and for responding to the question. This is Chapnge Teach. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate that. Now on Facebook, we have people who responded, and this is Stephen Oyula, and he's saying there's no need because the virus has already saturated all corners of the country. So you're saying there is no need for a shutdown. Ronnie Ronald, you're saying, hey, absolutely yes, we need to go back to a shutdown. Syra, you're saying there is no need for another shutdown at the moment. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Now, finally this evening, a call to action. Have you ever gone for cancer screening? Now, the residents of Kirinyaga County are being urged to embrace routine cancer screening for early diagnosis and timely treatment. Now, the county government says that the Kerugoya County Hospital is equipped to offer various tests, such as the mammograms, to facilitate the management and treatment of patients suffering from cancer.
It's all about breast cancer awareness.
Saratani inaponwa ikiwa imediagnoswa mapema, na ikiwa ni mambo ya matibabu, mtu asinyamaze, atafute usaidizi kutoka kwa jirani na kwa makanisa na aweze kupata matibabu, asipuuze matibabu.
Hizi ndawa, they are very costly. Hata ukimaliza vitu hivyo vyote uwe huna family stable, hizo ndawa huwezi gharamia. So nauliza tu our county government, those dawas sia cancer dawas, si ndio, ziwe free kama iza mkingo, sababu tunaendea sasa. Hata hufikiri jambo lingine, ukiona umembakisha ine, hata si kama zile za family planning, ukimaliza ine hivi unajua hapa unakunja ITK.
I think we should all go for cancer screening, and especially during this month of October. It's the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Have you gone for screening? During this month, we have some hospitals, some organizations giving free screening. So make sure you at least identify one, or if not, just make sure you avail yourself for breast cancer screening. And this also applies to men, remember? Thank you so much for tuning in to the show today. My name is Sarah Otieno, and from me and the team, it's a good night. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.